Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I'm your host, Lake, and I'm joined by my co-host, Christy. Christy, how are you today?
I am well, Lake. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. Round 2 for recording today.
We have a double dip.
A little double dip on the DCL podcast. We love nothing more.
It's been a hot minute since we've had a proper recording day, so this has been good.
It is true. We were due for some good episodes, and we have a great one to discuss today. One of our favorite guests returning to the show.
Very exciting.
Yes.
I'm back.
Yes, we would like to welcome back Bethany Vinton to the show today. Bethany, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course, always welcome on the show. Well, why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about the cruise you booked and who sailed with you?
Yeah, I just recently got off the Disney Destiny. This is my first time doing like any type of inaugural sailing too. So that was very exciting. We did a 5-night cruise from Cozumel, or that stopped at Cozumel and Castaway. And I cruised, there were 7 of us in our group, in all rooms in a row, connecting balconies, some connecting rooms. But I sailed with, in my room was my friend Maya. We used to work together and we had like wanted to really get on a cruise together. And it finally happened. My podcast co-hosts were in one room, Colin and Bella, with their son Finn, who was our sole child of this cruise. And then in my connecting room was my neighbors from back in Oregon, Carrie and Max, who I cruised with and talked about on this podcast last year on the Fantasy. So I got them on their second cruise. That's how much they liked the first one. So in total, 7 of us.
And what drew you to this sailing on the Destiny?
Honestly, we wanted to get on the new ship, but we needed a cruise that was close to the first day of Festival of the Arts. So Festival of the Arts was actually the day before this. And then the cruise took off the next day. And we were like, well, we're all going to be in Florida, so we might as well book this cruise. And I've always loved Cozumel and been very partial to Cozumel. So I was very excited to see that and bring everybody that I talked to about cruising to Cozumel for the first time.
Well, then let's go ahead and get into it. First off, you start off in Disney World. Disney Destiny sails out of Fort Lauderdale. What was the planning like to get down to Fort Lauderdale for this sailing?
So the last time I sailed out of Fort Lauderdale, I did do Brightline and I enjoyed it. However, there were 5 of us that were coming from Orlando. And when I priced it out, it was, first off, everybody was like, you have to upgrade to premium. And I was like, all right, let me just look, $2,200 for 5 of us. And I was like, I feel like we could do better. It ended up being about $1,000 for all of us with like a discount to sail that or to use the Brightline. So we decided, let's drive. So Maya borrowed her mother's minivan and drove all 5 of us down there. We stayed at Port Orleans Riverside the night before. We actually had connecting rooms, which was nice. So we were up and out by 6:30, and we even stopped at Saratoga at Artist Point for breakfast because that was like our pre-cruise breakfast on our last cruise, and we wanted to do it again. And we still made it down. It was such a smooth trip, to be honest. Like, had no issues with it. We never ran into traffic until we got to the port, but we had left. I would say we left like Disney property at about 7:25, 7:30, and got down there in time for our port arrival.
That's perfect.
What time was your port arrival?
All of us had different port arrival times. We started with 11:15. Colin and Bella had 11:45, and Max and Carrie didn't have till 12:30. So the 5 of us that had between 11:15 and 11:45 all arrived at the port, and we got there about 11:20, and it wasn't an issue to let us all in.
So wait, how did the other 2 people arrive to the port? Did they fly directly?
Yeah, they flew in to Miami actually because of flying out of Portland to Florida is not the easiest thing. They were supposed to fly in Fort Lauderdale, move to Miami, and then they stayed the night before at a hotel close by. And then the next morning just took an Uber to the port.
Before we embark, I want to jump back just a minute to that driving versus the Brightline. I mean, I think there's benefits to both. I just got to do the Brightline recently as well. Who do you think the Brightline is best for when you're considering that kind of travel from Walt Disney World?
Smaller groups and people that don't have to rent a car. So like since we had a car, it was convenient there that we didn't have to pay extra for it. And in all for our 5 nights, our parking was only $100. So like pricing out that versus the Brightline, it just seemed logical. When I did the Brightline with my mother, there was only 2 of us. It was significantly cheaper. And that convenience of not having to have one of us drive was like more worth it to me to pay that little extra money. But once you start getting into bigger groups, it definitely starts getting very expensive, and it just makes a lot more logical sense to drive. And sometimes it even makes more sense to rent a car. Like it gets expensive.
Yeah, I have a trip coming up where I'm cruising solo, well, meeting a friend down there out of Fort Lauderdale. And I can't make the decision either because even for one person, the Brightline is so expensive. And because we only have one car, I would have to rent a car and drive it. And I still think that price wise, and then there's the issue with luggage because I guess you can only have a small carry on now.
Really?
So wait, Bethany, you shook your head, but is that not?
Well, I mean, it's been a year and a half since I took it, but they didn't care.
It's changed since then.
Oh, see, that's a game changer.
Yes. And so, and like the luggage is an additional like $50 or some ridiculous price. That just seems complicated.
We had so much luggage, like we would have probably had, I mean, if you like upgrade to the premium, it's, I think, included still. But the amount of luggage we had was absolutely the most insane thing. Like, we don't travel lightly, let me tell you.
Yeah, so definitely worth it for people. They have to plan out what makes the most sense. And convenience is definitely a thing, but...
Well, I appreciate the little detour, a little elaboration on that from everyone here. But let's get back to this sailing. What was it like boarding the Disney Destiny for the first time?
It was actually really smooth. The last time I sailed out here, they had gotten off the transatlantic and it was kind of chaotic. This time, perfectly smooth. We dropped our luggage off. We parked the car. We walked into the terminal. They took one look at Finn and said, my golly, that child's really cute. And they literally gave us a pass to board whenever we wanted. So it was lovely. It was so easy. We got on the Disney Destiny and I think all of us cried. It was absolutely beautiful. It's very like minimalist when you board the ship compared to I've been on the Wish, and that is very like glitz and glammy and in your face. And this is very like understated, but in a very great way. And we got on there. Spider-Man was there. The kid was so excited. That's his favorite character. So he had like his Spider-Man shirt on and his Spider-Man. He was holding it up. They were having a moment, but the ship itself is gorgeous. I genuinely love how understated I think it feels compared to the other ships.
And then what's your first like boarding process look like? So you've boarded the ship, you've looked at the Grand Hall. Then what do you typically do?
We needed food. We had all been going for a while. We hadn't eaten since about 7:30. And at this point, it was probably getting closer to noon. So we actually decided, let's go up on the deck and eat we were all wanting different things, but Cantina or barbecue. That was the two. I got my Cantina bowl and I was the happiest little camper ever. I was like, yes, they brought this to the dream and the fantasy, but it's not the same. It's not the same. It doesn't have all the options. So had our bowls there. We were still waiting for Max and Carrie to get on the ship. And once we finished lunch, we decided to tour the kids club because I've never toured it. I've never been on a cruise with a kid. And I was like, well, we have a kid and we're going to bring him here. So let's go make him feel comfortable. And it was my first time exploring the Oceaneers Club. Leave me there. It was so much fun. So that was kind of like our routine. We had lunch and we went and toured the Oceaneers Club.
Well, then let's dive into these staterooms a little bit. You had some connecting rooms and some side-by-side rooms. What staterooms did you book and how did that work for your sailing group?
Yeah, we all had veranda staterooms. That was kind of like a requirement from everybody is we're all like veranda people now. But coming with this large group and knowing the kid was going to go to bed early, we wanted a place where we could gather while the kids slept. So we were on deck 9. And we had 3 staterooms in a row. When we went to book it, we happened to have all of them in a row. I was connecting with my Jersey neighbors, Max and Carrie, and then Colin and Bella were on the opposite side of us. And while our rooms didn't connect, when we saw our stateroom host, they immediately opened the balconies for us, and we got to have one extended. And it was so nice. It was interesting because we all didn't have the same stateroom hosts, and we all didn't have the same muster locations. So it was like kind of weird, but it was really funny when we asked them to open up the verandas. He was like, I just have to get permission from everybody in the staterooms connecting because like I had said it to him. And I was like, weirdly, they're both in my room right now. So you can ask them. And they opened it up like immediately for us. And we spent so much time out there. Like the rooms are beautiful. We had a Merida room, which like is what we really wanted. It was beautiful. They just feel so fresh and clean. Not that the ones don't feel clean on the other ships. It just feels darker. Like this feels so light and airy. It was lovely. And our Colin and Bella and both my Jersey neighbors, they both had Raya as their character. We're like sandwiched in between the two of them.
Love it.
Well, you get unpacked into your rooms. Where do you head next for your embarkation day?
we go get drinks because of course we had to. We threw at this point, this was the time where the kids club had opened. It was after the sail away party. And we decided to like test the waters and put the kid into the kids club and see how long he lasted. He was on the slide. Bye-bye. I don't need to hug you, anything. Went straight to the kids club. And we headed to the Sanctum to get our first round of cocktails. I love the Sanctum. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I think it feels more adulty than the Bayou does on the Wish. Like it felt more upscale and I really did enjoy that. We ordered drinks and this was like our first thing. I don't know if this is because we're on an inaugural sailing or what, but the presentations that the drinks were supposed to have don't like exist anymore. And we were only like 2 months into cruising. So Bella had gotten a drink that came out on this like really cool circular looking thing. It had hooks on it. So you know something was supposed to hang from it, but nothing was hanging from it. So we were like, oh, what are we supposed to do? And they were like, oh, nothing. It's just for display. And I was like, well, I'm going to go look at what this previously looked like in the first sailings. And it was supposed to have like a glass teapot on it that you poured out. Yeah. No, it just had a teapot sitting in the middle, like a ceramic teapot, not a glass teapot. So that was like the first thing. We also ordered the drink where it like is like electric, where you can kind of put like run your fingers up and down it. They bring out the first box and they put it on it because it sits on a box. And he's like, oh, the battery's dead. Let me go see if I can find one that has a battery. Like, and we were like, okay, not the best first impression of cocktails, which ended up kind of being a trend throughout this cruise of like the presentation of the cocktails don't exist. And it's crazy because it's only been 2 months. I don't know if they're waiting on new supplies, but that was like our biggest bummer. We loved the vibe, but the cocktails themselves were like, what happened to the presentation?
Staying on the cocktail front for a minute. Did you go to DeVille's and drink the lipstick cocktail?
I didn't. They had everything for it, though. I could tell. I did not end up ordering it just because we got to the point where we're like, do we really want to order this like 30 some odd dollar cocktail like at this point? And the answer was no. We did end up going to DeVille's the first night as well, but we hit the Sanctum and then we hit the Haunted Mansion bar, which I have not been on the Treasure. So this was my first time in it. And the Haunted Mansion bar is still full capacity for everything. All of the drinks were presented the proper way. We got like, you know, the cocktail that comes with a death certificate and smoke. And it was so cool. I really like the Haunted Mansion bar. I didn't expect it to be as like interactive as it was. No matter where you're sitting in the lounge, something around you is going to be interactive and talk at some point, which I thought's really nice because like when you go somewhere like Beacon Barrel in Disney World, not everything in the room is interactive. Like there's stuff around there, but it's not all going to interact with you. And I really did like that aspect of it. You just felt very involved in everything that was going on, no matter where you sat in the room. And we're like, we got to come back and sit in other spots because there's so many other places to sit that I want to look at the things happening there. But both places, I love the vibe. I love the vibe.
Depending on where you sit in there, yeah, you definitely get a whole other view, especially because like the aquarium kind of blocks the other half of the room. Not in a bad way. That's interesting too. But when you're over there, you're like, oh, this happens over here. But then when you're on the other side, like you realize what else happens. Yeah, that is such a cool lounge on that ship.
I could stay there forever. I could literally stay in the Haunted that's why I was like, bury me here. Colin's like, where's the coffin for me to live forever? And I was like, I get it, because the vibes are just really cool there. I have to say, I don't think like the drinks themselves, the like flavor wise, were my favorite. But they have a full bar, so you can order whatever you want. And I had a good dirty martini there. So I was like, filthy like the ground, okay? Like you're burying me and I am dying.
Let's go ahead and just keep rolling with lounges and drinks from around the ship, because you know that's what we're all here for. What were some other highlights from some of the lounges around the ship?
Absolutely loved DeVille's. I thought that was a good time. I definitely didn't experience it in the way a lot of people did, because DeVille's is interesting because they have the show with Cruella DeVille, which is like the most popular thing on this cruise. I felt like I needed a lightning lane for it. I felt I needed a lot. We never ended up doing that. We just hit up DeVille's for the piano every time, but we actually had some really good cocktails there and some really great champagne. For me, that was definitely a highlight. I thought a lot of the cocktails on the menu were really, really good. And honestly, like not too pricey. They also came with the presentation. I ordered one that came in what looked like an elephant trunk, like a glass elephant trunk with smoke. And I was like, she was like, it's supposed to be a pipe. And I was like, I don't know how to drink this though. So there's just like video of me absolutely like pouring it down my shirt because I couldn't figure out how to use this cup, but it was cool. So I wasn't mad at it, but we had a great time in there. We, of course, really wanted to go to the Rose as well, which is up in the adult area. I did like our days at Sea, Sense, Palo, and Enchante were opened. The Rose was open at noon, so we could go earlier in the day for a cocktail. Got my Mrs. Potts, or Mrs. T, which is one of my favorite drinks there. The first day, I feel like, again, they're kind of getting their rhythm with the fact that they're a new ship. The drink, I was like, this is not the drink I remember having on the Wish, and it was my favorite. Ordered it again. Very happy I gave it another chance because it was exactly like I remembered. It was like a little too viscous on day one. And then by day two, I feel like they found their rhythm. They gave you a whole like a little mini bottle of like bubbly rosé to go with it. It was delicious. But that was another great stop. We ended up finding ourselves up there a lot just because it was a lot more quiet than the other bars around the ship. I can't even say I didn't even get that many drink of the days, which is very unlike me because I love a good drink of the day. But it wasn't my like go-to. And then I guess our other big thing was just coffee. We drank a lot of coffee on this cruise. I think we ended up like turning in like 7 or 8 punch cards. And I liked the fact that with your punch card, so there's the 3 different places where you can get coffee. Like there, you can go to Merida, which was definitely our number one stop. It's like the biggest one that's right off the atrium. Megara, which is upstairs. And then Cove Cafe, which we found ourselves not going to as often just because how far out of the way it is from everything. But we like the concept that if I ordered an espresso martini, I got a coffee punch card. So we went through quite a lot of those and had really good espresso martinis there. So overall, I was impressed with the creativity of the drinks on the cruise. I wish the presentations were kind of there, but I love the creativity. And I mean, and essentially anywhere you go has an entire bar, so you can order whatever you want. And I'm a dirty martini gal, and I had some great dirties on that cruise. So good drinks, though, and a lot of great lounges. I really enjoyed the spaces.
Did they have the specialty beers in stock for the lounges? That
ended up being almost my like number one go-to at a point because they're not expensive either. They're like custom brewed for each bar. And I want to say they're around like $8.50. So especially compared to a cocktail, it's pretty cheap. I ended up really loving the one in the Sanctum. It was like a malty brownish ale. It was delicious. Even the one at the Haunted Mansion bar was an IPA, which is not my go-to. I really enjoyed this hazy IPA. I was like, I'm not mad at this. They also had another ale there, so there was options, but I was very impressed. And everywhere we went did have their custom beers in stock, including cask and cannon too. So we got them all. But the Sanctum was definitely my favorite, the one that was on there.
Sad Lake didn't get his custom beers.
I know. When I saw him after this and I was like, no, they were everywhere. And he was like, I was like, I'm sorry, because they were good too.
I'll be back for them. Destiny round 2 coming up.
I'm going to like call to make sure they're in stock. I'm going to be like, please don't do this to him.
Please. One time.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's just throw it out there really quick too, that if people want to join the podcast, we are cruising the Destiny July 18th. And we'd love to have you come still. And there's still cabins available. So reach out and we can get you booked and joined into our little group of people.
And you're sailing this itinerary.
Exactly.
So
it's perfect.
But yeah, the bars, love them. Love the vibes so much.
Awesome. Well, we've covered drink. Let's go ahead and move into food and discuss dining on board. Let's go ahead and start with rotational dining. First off, were you early or late dining?
We were late dining, which with a 3-year-old is not the most ideal situation, but he's a go with the flow. We also discovered that late dining means you can have 2 dinners. So we'd have dinner 1 about 5 o'clock on the deck, and then we'd have dinner 2 at 8 o'clock when we went to rotational dining.
Correct answer.
The bonus of having 2 dinners is we weren't mad at it. I mean, the deck food's great. So, but no, we had late dining. We had been on a wait list to get to early dining since essentially we booked the cruise and we never got moved up. And I think obviously we had 7 people, so wasn't like, easy. They also did go to Triton's Lounge the first day to see if we could get moved up again. And they waited about an hour and they said, well, if we can move you, it'll be in the app. That's all I have to say. And we didn't get moved, but it was fine. And we ended up having a great time. We loved our servers. So we made it work. And the child was great with late dining. So, and they were very good at like getting his food out quickly. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah. But late dining, which I personally love. So I was very happy.
Well, let's go into the restaurants. Before we talk about the new and shiny, let's talk about the ones that you have hit before. Let's start with 1923 and Worlds of Marvel.
Yeah, so we'll start with Worlds of Marvel because that was our first night. We kind of really wanted it on night 1 too, just of how the rotation would work. And I'm glad we got it. Very much the same as it is on the Wish when it comes to food. So that wasn't like anything that was really different from us. I have to say the chicken schnitzel, though, I did find to be absolutely elite. We were big fans of it. It just needed a sauce, but it was good. The angel hair pasta with the scallops, it was the mystic pasta, phenomenal. For dessert, we ended up ordering every single dessert every single night because there was such a large group of us and we just play past the plate. Subatomic sticky date pudding topped with balsamic caramel glaze and ice cream. Phenomenal. Like, we loved it. I have to say, I found the show interesting compared to the Wish. And by show, I mean the lack of a show. I expected a lot more because when you're on the Wish, like, you go through an entire scene where you have these characters that you follow so much, the Falcon and Captain America and like Ant-Man, all of them you see. And this, it was just Groot every once in a while and us playing trivia that literally meant nothing because you played trivia and I was like, maybe we'll have a ranking. No, I'm competitive. I want to know how I'm doing around the tables around me.
Yes.
Like,
why didn't they do that?
we were crushing it. Like, and with the kid, we just get excited about everything because like he gets excited about it. And when we realized we were competing against no one and we didn't even know what our score was, I was like, this is lame. Like, I expected more. Again, the food was exactly the same, but the show was disappointing compared to what was on the Wish. I like tried to hype it up because nobody had been to Worlds of Marvel. And I was like, it's so much fun. And I was like, so sorry, guys. And the thing is, when we tried to switch dining, they said the first night at Marvel and The Lion King, you will have a show. And the second night, you won't. And we all left and we were like, so what's going to happen the second time we're here? Because this was not a show.
What did happen the second time?
I ended up not staying that long. We ended up having a bourbon tasting. But from what I gather, literally nothing. There was no like trivia or anything.
And nothing on the screens? Or did they at least put stuff on the screens?
I actually don't know because we dipped out so fast to go to our bourbon tasting. But they were really great. I have to say, at Worlds of Marvel, he knew we were going and he was like, I'll send the people that are staying and not going to bourbon tasting back to the room with your food. So when we got done with bourbon tasting, our food was in the room.
That's fun.
So I have to say, great servers. Boyan, we loved him, our assistant server. He's the one that did that. So no notes. But I was just kind of disappointed with the shows, but the food was good. So it is what it is. And the kid was entertained. Can't be mad at that.
And 1923?
1923, we actually didn't do dinner here because we had booked Palo that night because it was pirate night, which is definitely an interesting thing on the Destiny. But we did do breakfast at 1923 on our first sea day. Absolutely phenomenal. We had such a great breakfast. I think the highlight of the menu there was the PB&J kids pancakes that we got for the kid. And we were like, no, we need a nut. Like, everyone passed it around. Like, this is the best pancakes I've had. It had peanut butter and jelly like swirled on the top. So anytime I go back there, that's what I'm ordering. I will order the kids' meal. Kind of bummed that we didn't get to go to 1923 dinner. And I think if we did it again, we actually wouldn't have booked Palo for dinner and we would have gone to 1923.
Well, then let's move into the new and shiny Lion King. What were your expectations for this restaurant?
It's interesting. I had a lot of people that had cruised on the Destiny before me, and I was very excited because the Lion King is like, I grew up with it. I loved it. And they all kind of were like, it wasn't my favorite. And I was like, how dare you? So I don't want to say our expectations were low, but at the same time, I think I set them lower than I actually feel like I did. And so when we got there, we were in the corner, like literally the corner, as far from the stage as you possibly can be. I felt like we were in timeout and all of us were kind of cranky over that. We were all in like a bad mood of like, oh, I wish that we were closer to the stage. And then they started singing The Circle of Life and all of us started crying. And I was like, you know what? Sitting in the corner, absolutely fine. It doesn't matter. So like starting off with the show, absolutely amazing. They have it that it looks like we were facing the way that like we're facing the back of the ship to look at the stage. And it's like the sun rises as they start singing The Circle of Life. And we were all just crying because it was just beautiful. And then we got to the food and the food was absolutely amazing. This was by far my favorite restaurant we hit on the entire ship. And we got 2 different menus since we did double dip into it. And the menus were different and so good. I do think night 1 was my favorite. However, night 2 had some really great contenders. Night 1, the black-eyed pea hummus was high on my list of things. It came with like 2 crostinis and almost like 3 dips. So good. The peri-peri shrimp as an appetizer too. It's crazy because I loved a lot of shrimp dishes and I'm not a shrimp person, but I think they just did so well with the flavor that it was worth it. It came in like a sauteed chili garlic sauce which usually I feel like shrimp on Disney Cruise Line is like boiled and boring. Like there's nothing to it. And they really added a lot to this. But our standout dish of the entire night, and probably the cruise for us, was the baked mushroom and lentil bobotie. So it was a vegetarian dish that came with lentils, forest mushrooms, like a souffled topping, like a nice egg topping. And then it came with a turmeric raisin rice. And let me tell you, like we fought over this. And he was like, should I bring out another one? And I was like, contemplating it, but we have about like 8 entrees on this table right now. But this was easily the highlight. It was so flavorful that I honestly thought this was like meat when I first had it, because I was like, there's no way this is vegetarian with the amount of flavor that is packed into this. But it sure was. So this to me was a highlight. And then at dessert, we also got a milk tart, which came out and it looked like your basic like Disney World dessert. You know what I mean? Where it's just, it looks like it's mass produced. So we all kind of skipped over this milk tart. And then we tried it and it had this roasted pineapple compote on it that was phenomenal. And I thought to myself, I passed by these desserts in Disney because they aren't good, but they could be because this one was so delicious. So the night one menu to me was like really a home run. And then on night 2, we ended up getting a bobotie hand pie. Bobotie was the theme of everything, apparently. A lamb and beef with raisins, garlic in this like beautiful crust. We were all like, okay, we actually have to order more of these because these were absolutely delicious. But the food was great. The show was amazing. I thought it was really well paced too, that they would sing and like you weren't, when they were singing, it's not like your server was trying to take your order and you were all screaming, trying to figure things out. Like they took your order, the show started, they took a pause, your food came. So it was like so well paced that you could actually turn and watch the show because I was sitting with my back to the stage, that I was very impressed with how well that worked out. It kind of reminded me of the hoop-de-doo in Disney where they like take your pause when your meal comes and you don't have to feel like you're missing anything. So overall impressed with it. Night 2, again, there was no show. They just kind of played the Lion King music in the background. But the food was so great that honestly, we didn't care. But night 1, I can't tell you how much I absolutely loved the show. The kid loved the show. Everybody was into it. Even though we were as far out as you could be, we still felt like we were very involved in the show. So that was absolutely amazing. And the singers were phenomenal, like no notes. We cried many of times because anytime they hit a song and they were like combining like Disney, the movies that you love with like Broadway, and that just does it for us. So we were disasters, but in the best way. But the food's great. The show's great. It was easily our favorite rotational dining of the cruise. Like we loved it.
Performers on the Destiny in general, just like phenomenal. But before we jump into that note, you did mention Palo dinner.
So we booked Palo for pirate night because we've all been on Disney Cruise Line. We all don't like the pirate menu. And then we get on the cruise and realize the Destiny is not actually doing the pirate night menu. So we were like, oh, well, this is a bummer because we kind of probably wouldn't have booked it, but we're like, let's just treat ourselves. Let's go. I'm going to be honest. It was the worst Palo experience I've ever had. And if that had been my first experience at Palo, I would never go back for dinner. I have to say, I'm going to give props where props are due. I think our maitre d' was Sasha from the Fantasy, and he recognized all of us. He was very good because we had put the kid in Kids Club, and he wasn't in love with Kids Club by this point. We told them when we dropped him off that we were going there, and they were like, no worries. Sasha was like, if they call and say he needs to be picked up, I have a phone. You can talk to him on the phone. Like, you don't have to go down there. He was very kind about making sure that, like, we enjoyed our time there. So I have to say from that perspective, it was really, really good. The food was also standard Palo. Like, I don't think it was bad, but our service was just, it was so bad. There were so many times where it was like awkward, where he'd be like, you guys are at such a small table. And like, we're like, okay, like we didn't seat ourselves here. Like, you know, the dialogue that just happened a lot of like, oh, have you guys been to Palo before? And we're like, oh yeah, we've all been a bunch. And he's like, let me walk you through the menu, and like starts at the very top. And I was like, usually they customize it a little more. And I don't know if it's, I went from Carolina on the Fantasy where like, she's my queen. And now I'm just like having it, but like, I've never experienced Palo in this way. We just felt forgotten at a lot of points. Like when we finally got the call that the kid wanted to be picked up at Kids Club, we had just finished dessert, or we had like gotten dessert, and dessert was weird because we ordered 2 soufflés. So they were ordered, you know, like 20 minutes before dessert happened. He brought out the soufflés and then he was like, does anybody else want dessert? And so none of our desserts arrived at the same time. And finally, when we got the call that the kid wanted to be picked up, Colin left, and it took 22 minutes for him to come back to the table. And like, we were already finished with dessert. So like he picked up the kid, went and got food and was back in the room like by the time that we left dinner. And we had to flag down another server and like they just seemed annoyed. So it was like a very weird experience at Palo that we've never had it. And if that had been my like baseline, I don't know if we would be rushing to go back because it's not cheap. Like you're paying such an additional amount for like in addition to your cruise fare that like I don't think we would have gone back. So Palo was interesting. I wish we'd have kept 1923.
I hate that.
I know. And like we are Palo stands. And I mean, we'll book it again, but like I think we'll be second guessing dinner and like lean towards breakfast and brunch and probably prima notte every time because it just wasn't the experience we loved.
Not the worst take there, though, for sure. What about meals outside of dinner?
We became Marceline Market's biggest fans. I didn't expect it. And again, nobody that I cruised with had been to Marceline Market before. Colin and Bella had been on the Wish, but they were staying concierge. So like they never made it to Marceline Market. I introduced everybody to the lore of having fried rice at breakfast and nobody ever looked back. Like every day, like on day one, I was like, no, I eat fried rice for breakfast. And on the other cruise ships, I like my morning miso. I said, give me today my morning miso. Couldn't find miso on this cruise, but we went for breakfast every morning besides 1923. There's so many great options there. Like the egg tarts are amazing. Of course, we had churro waffle day. So churro waffles are always our favorite. And then for lunch, we discovered the chicken tikka masala and there was no turning back on it. It was like fresh char grilled chicken that they poured the sauce over. They had the rice there. It was every day. Every one of us like essentially got that for lunch if we could be in the area. It became the fan favorite. And we found ourselves at Cabanas more than I anticipated. We did enjoy the on the deck things too. I think I got a few burgers because they make all the burgers fresh. So over at like Goofy's Grill, like when you order the burger, that's when they put it on the grill. So every single time it was fresh and delicious. Of course, we hit up the cantina a lot and Mickey's Smokestack. And then late night, we got a lot of pizza because that was like the only thing that was open. And we're always down for first, second, and third dinner. Okay. No one's saying no to it. We're like, if you have to roll us off this cruise, that's fine. Like then we've gotten our money's worth. So but we became very big fans of Marceline Market. Like we hit that place up so often. It was ridiculous, but in the best way.
Second and third dinners, all good dinners.
Exactly.
Well, let's go ahead and move into entertainment. Before we jump into shows, did you get to see any of the like Destiny specific shows or any of the Atrium shows on board?
We didn't do too many crazy things just because like our schedule. I did end up seeing the Cruella de Vil or the Maleficent show, which was really cool. She kind of takes over the whole atrium. And I was like, this is awesome. Like it goes green and she does a meet and greet and it was fun. We ended up not going into a lot of the adults only things just because the kid did not enjoy Kids Club that much. And we kind of all stuck together as a group. And that was fine. Like we really enjoyed that. But we did a lot of like the kid activities. So catch us at the dance party in the atrium. The dance party was amazing. It was actually a lot more fun than we anticipated. The characters come around and dance with everybody. There's confetti at the end. We were having the time of our lives. But like, that's essentially all we really did. We did a lot of character meet and greets, though. It was just a nice balance between Marvel and like Disney characters. So we got like Loki and Spider-Man, but we also got like Minnie and Goofy. And, you know, it hit all the different things, which I really did like. And the kid's like Spider-Man's biggest fan. So when he got to meet Spider-Man, it was the moment of his life.
Did somebody in your party get the picture package?
No one got the picture package. So, but like all of us have our phones out, like nobody's business. So we definitely have enough photos, but no one bought the picture package.
What about the actual shows? Did you get to see any of those?
Yes, we only went to one. I know that, Christy, you like this. The first day, the Seize the Adventure. No one wanted to go to it.
Why is everybody hating on my Seize the Adventure?
I love that show. I'm on your team. And everybody was like, no, we're just not interested. And I was like, it's 45 minutes. It's perfect for the baby child. 30. See, that's what I mean. I was like, it's perfect for the baby child. Why aren't we there? And nobody wanted to go. But we were like, we have to go to Hercules because the kid loves Hercules. He sat through the whole thing, loved it. I really enjoyed Hercules as well. I thought the cast was phenomenal. Meg, like you could have thought, if I closed my eyes, I would think she was in like from the actual movie. Like she sounded so accurate.
And you had Destiny 2 cast, right? Like this was the second set?
It was the first one still. Yes. I mean, Hercules was absolutely phenomenal. He was in all the promotional stuff and like he's
so good.
He's so good. The whole time we were just sitting there, we're like, this is absolutely amazing. And Hercules, I wouldn't say is my show, but just like the beauty of it, there's stuff they left in that I'm really happy they did. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We also did not get there super early. I know that people talk about like lining up like an hour beforehand, like 30 minutes to an hour. I mean, we showed up like 10 minutes beforehand. And granted, we were towards the back of the theater, but like that's where we kind of wanted to be with the kid, that if he didn't like it, we could, easily take him out and it wouldn't be a big deal. But he was probably more into it than everybody else. I think Max fell asleep at a point because, at that point of the night, you've been drinking, the ship is rocking. It's like a nap time. They're singing beautifully. It's putting you to sleep. But we were very happy we went to that one because we all really did enjoy it. And they also had like the matinee of that one because it was the C day for us. So we ended up going to the first showing though in the evening. And again, super, super easy. I feel like they do have some things that they're like still working out on the Destiny. Because for example, we did stop to get like popcorn beforehand and they only had one person working. So I ended up being like walking into Hercules late because there was only one person working. So it's fine. The kid wanted popcorn. I was going to get him popcorn. Okay. I just think they're finding their groove with certain things, but the show itself was absolutely amazing. I'm a little bummed we didn't see Frozen. I've seen it so many times though, that I'm like, okay, I get it. But my favorite Elsa was there. I saw her in the fantasy and she was amazing. I'm a little disappointed we missed out on some of them, but it just kind of worked with the vibe of the group. And when you're with a group that size, like people can go off and do their own things, but we really stuck together for almost everything.
That's fun. Did you do the Hero Zone?
Oh, I did. First off, we did back-to-back was the Hero Dash, the baby hero race, which we know I love the Jack Diaper Dash on every cruise. Had an absolute blast. It's a little bit different themed. It's like Hercules and it's cute. It's in the atrium. It's adorable. We did that. And we were like, okay, we have a few minutes where we can catch the end of the Incredible, like the inflatable. And I don't know why I thought about like why putting myself up against a professional athlete was a good idea, because Colin and I raced each other on this one. And it was like the biggest regret of my life. I'm like, why did I think that I could compete against a professional athlete? But it was like all kids and us grown adults. And we had a great time. But let me tell you, it knocked like my socks off, literally. It was fun. It had different elements. Like there's a video that is definitely on my YouTube at this point of me doing it that I'm like, I don't even want to post that on the internet, but it's funny. And I remember like hitting the slide at the end. And I like landed on my feet and the worker was like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't think I am okay. And like we were supposed to go to Haunted Mansion trivia after it. And I was like, I'm just going to need to sit on the balcony for a bit because that knocked like it was so much fun and I highly suggest it, but it was crazy and I loved it. But the baby child didn't even come with us. He was at nap time. So didn't even get to experience it, but he would have found it funny to watch us do it together. But I definitely got my butt kicked by a professional athlete. So it is what it is. Colin really took it home on that one. I can't even act like it was close, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And I highly suggest doing it. Make sure you bring some socks and go do it. And maybe like make sure you have a good health program while you're on the cruise. Like get that insurance.
And like Advil.
Yeah. It doesn't look bad, but once you start doing it, you're like on the ground. And I'm like, I don't understand. I'm just like rolling around, but fun. I loved it. But
well, I believe there was some talk of some drink tastings.
Yes, we did. Me and the boys did the bourbon tasting. We called it Bethany Bubbies and Bourbon because they call each other Bubby. So Bethany, Bubbies and Bourbon. We did our tasting up in Cove Cafe. It definitely was interesting because we didn't get to sit next to each other completely since there were three of us. It wasn't my favorite tasting. I probably wouldn't do it again, but we did get to taste some fun bourbons and kind of have a hangout with each other. I think that like the tastings have gotten very expensive on Disney Cruise Line. I do think we got good pours of bourbon, but for the price point and kind of the vibe, or maybe it was just because it was so late, like we left dinner early to go to that we were tapped out, like very much tapped out at that point of the evening. But it was a tasting and I was happy that like we did one of them because we always like to do them on a cruise. So
was there any other activities or anything else about the Destiny that was a highlight for you?
Pirate Night again was fun. This was the first time that like everybody had witnessed Pirate Night besides me on the Wish. So everybody loved the stage show. We also went back to Bibbidi Boppity Boutique because I can't say no to Bibbidi Boppity Boutique on a Pirate Night. However, we had a 3-year-old with us, so I felt like it's better.
So you just dressed up the 3-year-old?
Yes. We only did the 3-year-old. Auntie Bethany got him Pirate Night as his gift for the cruise. We walk in, got like the middle package, which I think was like $130, but it came with like a sword and everything. He got his pirate name. His name was Nate Goldstealer. So, and then he had Plundering Page do his makeover. He wanted to get be like the beat up pirate with the black eye. And it was absolutely adorable. I think we all went. So it was like him sitting in the chair and then 6 adults like watching him get this makeover. But we had such a fun time with it. Plundering Page was amazing and like making him feel comfortable. And she was like, you have to say, when I give you your black eye, you should see the other guy. So he's like walking around saying, you should see the other guy. And his package also came with a sword. And he was like, I want to go to Kids Club and show everybody my makeover. And we were like, yes, let's do it. He was like, I'd also like to stab everyone with my sword. And I was like, well, maybe we don't do that in Kids Club. I was like, maybe you're going to leave the sword with me and then go join Kids Club. But that was like a really highlight for all of us. It's just like watching him get his pirate makeover. We had such a fun time with it. It was definitely a different vibe than putting my mother in the chair, but still a really great time. I love like Bippity Boppity Boutique on that ship. It feels like bigger. And so that was really nice because last time I did it on the Dream, but overall, absolutely loved it. Like we had a really good time at Pirate Night and then going to watch the pirate show. He was having the time of his life. So give that man a pirate deck party and he's going to dance all night. Nate Goldstealer, stealing gold and your heart. It was adorable.
Mary Bad Bones will still live rent free in my head forever.
Me too. He was like, I don't want to go. I was like, do you know my mom did this? And her name is Mary Bad Bones.
Well, we've had all sorts of fun around the Destiny, but we still have 2 port stops to discuss. What did you get up to in Cozumel?
Cozumel, I had seen this thing online and I convinced all of my friends to do it. The Cozumel Humane Society has a cat cafe that's about 15 minutes from the port. You have to take a taxi. It was, I believe, $40 each way for us for 7 people. They do it like based on the amount of people in your group. So I think if you had between 1 or 4 people, it would have been like $20. And then they double it for it. But it was about a 15-minute drive, $12 to enter the cafe. And we stayed there for an hour and literally got to play with cats. It was one of the coolest experiences. I think it was also, it put into a very good perspective of like, you come into this cruise port and you see all the like cool things that are right there. But this is like them every day using all the money and resources they get in order to make better lives for the animals on the island. And like very impressed with it. The staff was amazing. They also had, this was like, our hidden surprise. We loved playing with the cats, but they also had Mexican drinks and Mexican chips there. And everybody fell in love with Mexican Doritos. Like everybody was like, this was the worth it trip just to get Mexican Doritos. So highly recommend the Cat Cafe. You can make an appointment online if you're interested, but it was such a great experience for us. We're all happy we did it. They don't have an age limit. So the kid was able to go. He has a cat at home, so he kind of understands like, you know, how to behave around a cat, but it was one of the best experiences. We just got to cuddle with cats and they were all super friendly. There were a few of them. One, I fell in love with Domino. I've been like, I'm about to get, I've looked up flights to go back to get Domino because I love this cat that didn't look like a cat. He just looks like he's judging you. And I love that. So, but they were all so great. It's funny because they were like, Gringo's a little spicy. Gringo was the sweetest thing. Like we loved all these cats so much that if we weren't on a cruise, we definitely would have been smuggling cats home. Like all of us were like, I would take this cat home right now to different cats throughout there. So that was a great experience. And it was a nice way to kind of give back to Cozumel, like when we were down there and help with their pet population as well. And then, of course, we did lunch. We went to Choza, which I've been there before. I think this is like a crew member favorite. It's like a 15-minute walk from the port. Highly suggest. We ended up going to dinner with like 9 people. And just had a blast. We had people on the cruise that we met that we have known from before that it was awesome and stopped for some margs on the way back. And it was a great day in Cozumel. I love that port because it's so walkable with a lot of things that it just feels like accessible and it feels safe. So I really do like that port.
Just going to put it out there. Domino is definitely judging you for the future things that you have not done yet.
Correct. He is. He just sits like right by the sink and just stares at everyone. And I love it. I'm like, that's my cat. If there ever was a cat, he was so great, but it was such a lovely time and they were so nice there. I'm so happy we ended up doing that. And all my friends were like, yeah, let's go to the Cat Cafe. It's definitely a little further from the Disney port, but where the other ships dock, like other cruise lines, it's really close there. Like it's almost within walking distance. So loved Cozumel though.
Well, then your next stop, you are back at Disney's OG private island, Castaway. What did you get up to here?
We actually got a cabana. We got one of the new Mickey and Minnie Cove cabanas. By check-in day, we all said, like, let's get a cabana if it's available. I was the only person awake during check-in day, and shocking news, but it's 9 p.m. for me, so it's much easier. And we ended up finding one of the new Mickey and Minnie Cove cabanas. We actually ended up with Cabana 31, which was the furthest cabana, like the last cabana all the way down at the end. It's over at Serenity Bay. So you take like the shuttle to Serenity Bay, like you're going to the adults only beach, but this is kid friendly. And we're the first ones there, first ones off the ship. We were braced and ready to go. I was like, everybody be up and at it because we will be the first people at the cabanas. And we were. I actually thought they were beautiful. They do look like the cabanas that are on Lighthouse Point. Like same vibes. You walk in, they're big and beautiful. I believe for a while they did not have all the furniture in. They do now. We had a full thing. I think you asked me, you're like, can I get photos? And I was like, Colin, take the photos. And I literally put Colin on a mission to take photos of the entire inside of the cabana. But I have to say, kind of a nice like upgrade. And also the like tablet on the wall is a nice upgrade as well. Because we got to listen to music all day, which we did the ones in Serenity Bay last time. And it didn't have that option. So like that, we ordered drinks on it. I did like the cabana. It was a nice spot for us. And the weather at Castaway, especially that time of year, like wasn't amazing. The sun didn't really come out. So I liked having a place that like we all could hang out. It was double the price essentially of the one we got at Serenity. So I believe like the run at Serenity was $5 something. This, since we had 7 people, that adds an additional like fee. So I think we paid a little over $1,000 for it. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I'll do it again, but we can get into that in a minute. But the beach is right there. The way those cabanas all line up at the end too is you're kind of like in a horseshoe and you're all looking at the beach together and you can walk down to the beach, which is nice. You have the tube rentals that are there at your place to begin with. One thing I did really like about the Cove, like the Mickey and Minnie Cove cabanas, is they have their own bar. So they have the buoy bar there, which is just for cabana people. And never once did we wait in line. Like it was very convenient. Like it was not far from where we are. If you went to the bathroom, you're like, I'm just going to walk up to the bar instead of like ordering from the tablet. And also the tablet's like limited where if you wanted a cocktail, like they'd have to come ask what cocktail you wanted. So we just found it easier to walk over. Had a great time with that. We also got to check out the new Hangar 98 barbecue, which now they share with Serenity Bay. So like, I know as an adult only that sails on adult only cruises most of the time. I was like, what do you mean? I'm going to have to share my barbecue with children. But you are so separated that it doesn't like, you don't sense that other people are there. The food was amazing though. I think that kitchen is like a 10 out of 10. I got a ribeye steak and like their steaks are very thin cut. I asked for it medium. It was cooked medium. I was like, this absolute piece of perfection. I was so impressed. The ribs were great. The salads were great. It was essentially, I think they've really stepped up the game. I always like Lighthouse a little bit more when it came to food. And I think they're like at that level now. So had a great lunch at Hangar 98. We took a nice bike tour of the island because this was Maya's first time on the island. So like she wanted to see everything and bikes were included with our cabana. But like the reasons why, in my opinion, like I probably wouldn't pay for it again is the water was definitely interesting. It was cold. Obviously, we went in January, so you didn't really want to get in. But by the time low tide came in, which was like noon, you could walk all the way to the buoys and you were only like calf deep in water. So if you wanted to go float, like you couldn't do that. And so I even like got to the fact where I was like, what is the tide like all year long? And it's very consistent at Castaway.
It must, though, have something to do with, too, then the side of the beach you're on, because we were clear across the other side at Christmas, and our tide, I feel like, wasn't an issue, although I don't think anybody actually went in the water. But it wasn't that.
You could clearly tell, like.
And you couldn't, so the lower cabana numbers clearly have a different water situation.
See, and that's interesting because I wish I would have known that. Because like, I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal at this point because since it was winter, like we didn't really want to go that like deep into the water. But usually I like to like float there with my book and I wouldn't have been possible. I was like, my float would have been on the sand bar. Like it would have 100%. So that was kind of a bummer for us, but like interesting to know that the lower cabanas don't have that issue. And then I also have to say like for us, and I don't know if it's the Serenity Bay cabanas, the service was a little bit different. Like there's so many cabanas and not enough cabana hosts compared to the other experience where like we paid half the amount of money and like got a much better experience. Like they drove us to go down to get food and drove us back when we were in Serenity Bay. Here, like you had to walk. And then finally, when we went to go back on the cruise, like last time we had arranged a time for him to pick us up to drive us all the way back to the ship. Here, they picked us up because it's an option in your thing. they bring you back to the Serenity Bay tram and you have to take the tram back. And I'm like, for the price we paid, I don't understand why like those bits of service don't exist when they existed for a lower price. So that was kind of our reasoning why like the beach wasn't as great as we wanted it to be. Didn't matter this time of year. And then just the like service, like everybody was lovely, but the amenities like that they offer just weren't the same. And for that price point, we were like, probably wouldn't do this again. Glad we did it though.
Well, sadly, after a lovely day at the beach, your cruise has to come to an end.
It does. And it did. And we were exhausted that night anyway. So honestly, it probably was a good thing. We had definitely partied hard and had a great time, but we were definitely ready for disembarkation day, 100%.
What was your disembarkation process like, and how did you get home?
So we decided we normally are not like the biggest let's go to breakfast people, but we absolutely loved our servers, especially our assistant server, Boyan. We loved him so much that there was no way we weren't going to say goodbye to him on the last day. Like we fell in love with him. So we did go get breakfast. Our dinner before was at Feast of the Lion King. So that is where our breakfast was, and had a simple breakfast. By the time we got done, it was everybody get off the ship now. It wasn't like calling them like your cards anymore. It was like, everybody please exit the ship. Easy breezy to get off. Took a lap around the atrium and were able to scan right out. Our bags were very blatantly there. We actually were like a mixture of half of us carried off our bags and half of us like sent our bags like the night before. And right there, walked out, easy breezy, said our goodbyes, like, because it was so quick, said our goodbyes to Carrie and Max, who were flying out of Miami, and then paid for parking, which was only $100, got in the car and drove ourselves back to Orlando. And it was an easy trip back. Again, like no traffic, no much of anything, just a lot of like trees as you go through like the state, like forest or whatever on your way back. So, but it was like super easy on the way back. I was in the back of the minivan and I spent 3.5 hours in the back of there, and I was like supposed to fly home that night. And I was like, I can't sit on a flight for 6 hours. So I did move my flight. That would be my only advice. If you're going to be stuck in the back of a minivan on the way back to Orlando and then have to get on a 6-hour flight, like maybe don't do it the same day. But it was so easy to get off that cruise and easy to get back.
Why did you come back to Orlando?
I came back to Orlando because we all decided we were going to come back to Orlando because we didn't want Maya to have to drive back by herself. We're team players.
Also, you didn't just move your flight back a day.
No, I moved my flight back nearly a week.
I was thankful for that.
Correct. We got to meet up and have a good time in Epcot.
That was a lovely day. And we got to meet my new favorite server, Sweet Baby Jesus.
We did. Tony's Town Square. If you're ever at Tony's Town Square.
That is how he introduced himself to us.
Correct. We tried to call him Jesus and he said no. I said, that's what your host said.
Only at Tony's.
Only at Tony's. Good times though. But yeah, it was such a fun cruise. We came back and Colin and Bella went into the park with the kid when they got back. Like, got dropped off, immediately caught a bus to Magic Kingdom and went into the park and went riding rides with them. So I said, I'll meet you at Steakhouse 71.
Well, after sailing on the Destiny and hearing about all of the fun and hype of the ship, how did you feel like the Destiny lived up to your expectations of it?
I loved it. I am a big Marvel fan, so I think that helps a lot if you're not the biggest Marvel fan. There's still a lot that's happening on the ship that I don't think is completely Marvel like related. So I think there's still a lot to do. I do think they're in a bit of identity crisis because like they also have heroes and villains like Hercules, but then like a lot of the activities are themed Marvel. So they're like trying to balance everything. There's a little bit of an identity crisis, but I feel like they'll figure that out. But I love the ship. I'd get back on it. Like literally saw it on a discounted rate. And I was like, do we go back to the Destiny? Because I really, really did enjoy the ship. I think it was interesting of being my first like inaugural sailing season cruise that I don't necessarily think I'd like rush back to go on a ship in its inaugural season again. I think like I'm down to let it like work out. Like, I just feel like the fantasy, it just flows so easily and everybody's kind of like learning their balance here still. So I think that next time I'll probably wait a bit, but I'm glad we did it. We had a great time. I think the ship is absolutely gorgeous. It's more of my style than the Wish. So I absolutely loved it. Like I had a great time and would 100% go back on it.
Awesome. Did you have any other notable cast interactions?
I mean, like for us, it was our assistant server, Boyan. Like I can't say enough. He was absolutely amazing. We had some really great musicians as well. I have to give a shout out to Matt. I know, Christy, you love him too. I've been on a few cruises with Matt, and like his wife actually lives like by me, and he did a whole Taylor Swift set for her. And I had messaged him. I was like, hey, do you want to play Taylor at some point? And he did an entire Swiftie set for us. So one night we went, it was in the sanctum, fully packed in the sanctum, and everybody was screaming Taylor Swift lyrics for like an hour. It was honestly one of the best like Disney cruise music events I've been to. So Matt, thank you. It was amazing. Like that was another highlight for me. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That would be my dream.
It was so good. And he played like every single era. He just like went through them. He was like, I'm not really a Swiftie. I was like, you are a Swiftie now. I don't know how we knight you, but this is how we do it. So he was another great interaction. We had a lot of great cast members that we really did love the entire time, but those really stand out to me.
Amazing. Well, Bethany, what is next for you?
Next is a sailing with somebody who's been on your podcast before. My next sailing is on the Disney Wonder with my friend Johnny, who I know has been on here. He's the concierge man, and it's going to be my first concierge sailing in the Royal Suite. So I'm really just diving full into this one, but I'm very excited for it. So it's a nice sailing out of San Diego, 3 nights. I'm very excited.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Can't wait.
Awesome. We cannot wait to hear all about it. But Bethany, thank you again so much for coming on the show and sharing your experience on the Destiny. Where can our listeners follow you?
You can follow me anywhere on social media. I am Bethany Vinton. And then you also can follow my podcast, The Main Street Dish, because we've done a lot of videos about our like top eats on the Disney Destiny. If you're interested, if you want a visual on a lot of those things, we're going through our like must order things at every place.
Awesome group of humans there. Please check them out. Well, Bethany, thank you again so much for coming on and sharing your experience with us once again. We do hope that you will come back after your next sailing to share with us.
Always.
Well, Christy, where can our listeners follow you?
You can find me all over the internet at Pack Your Pixie Dust. I actually have a teeny tiny YouTube channel that I've just begun, and I have a room tour of the Disney Destiny. So if somebody is interested in seeing a family veranda, that's up and you can check it out. And Lake has put a work with me link in the show notes. If somebody is interested in having me be their travel agent, if you're not working with somebody, I'd be happy to help you. Lake, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at MouseGen, and you can follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook at DCL Podcast, or find more information at our website, dclpodcast.com. But that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Well, that's going to wrap up the show. Once again, we want to thank Bethany for coming on and sharing her experience on the Disney Destiny. If you're enjoying the show, we greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'd also like to thank our Patreons who help make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by visiting us at patreon.com/DCL Podcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Christy, and Steve, we want to wish you smooth sailing and safe travels. And we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.